I want to start by saying that change in general is not that easy for all of us. So as part of this transformation, what you're going to be doing as leaders is just look at the world a little bit differently. And when I think about change and why is it's so hard for us, I often think about the fact that, again, looking at an audience like this one, you got here because you've been successful at what you do. And so in a sense, there is no even a reason for looking at the world a little bit differently. And I'm reminded of the fact that often our own success is the biggest barrier to our own development. I want to share a clip with you that I think makes this point quite convincingly.
Again, this is the USS Montana requesting that you immediately divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Over.
Please divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid collision.
This is Captain Hancock. You will divert your course. Over.
Negative, Captain. I'm not moving anything. Change your course. Over.
Son, this is the USS Montana, the second largest vessel in the North Atlantic Fleet. You will change course 15 degrees north, or I will be forced to take measures to ensure the safety of this ship. Over.
This is a lighthouse, mate. It's your call. Hello, Captain? Think he's gone. Fair enough.
Now, as I said, I think there is a real leadership opportunity here for all of us to start thinking a little bit differently about what does it take to lead by principles. How is it that our behavior is going to change? How is it that we're going to set a different model for others to follow? And as I said, I want to share a few stories of leaders that took that journey and see what we can learn from them. One of the stories that I love is a story that comes from a person who I'm pretty sure you all know, is a pilot. Back in a cold evening in 2009, Captain Sully Sullenberger found himself in a rather strange situation, a really tough one. He had 208 seconds to make a decision. That's the time that he had when he discovered that there was no thrust in the engine, and the time he ditched a plane with 155 passengers in the Hudson River. I actually discovered about him since I'm interested in decision making, and accident reports are actually publicly available, so you can find yourself reading them. And what I was struck by when I read that particular accident report was actually the decisions that he ended up making. So I reached out to him. It was one of those times I used the HBS card. So I said, I'm a professor at Harvard Business School. Could I please talk to you? And he was very generous with his time. And what I discovered is that by the time the accident happened, this person had a ton of experience. And he also had a lot of knowledge about the rules. In fact, one of the first few things that you would see in the report as the conversation was happening between him and the first officers is going to the quick reference book, which is a very large manual with a lot of rules. And he started following them. But then he sort of took a step back, despite the fact that he had very little time to think more broadly about the situation that he was facing and what his mission was. And he decided, for instance, that in his role as a leader, as a captain, saving people was more important than saving a plane. That was a principle that he always lived by. And so he decided to take action based on that principle. And he found a creative way of landing the plane, despite the fact that most people, given our psychology and physiology even, under such level of stress and under such little time, would have decided to go to the most obvious answer, which is probably land at the closest airport. Again, we see the same three elements in terms of clarity in the mission, always with them, driven by principles. Clear boundaries. It's not that he disregarded the rules, he went to them first, but he was able to keep the bigger principle in his head. And he was also quite trusting, in this case, very much trusting of the people who were on the plane with him, the people who helped on the crew side for everyone to feel a little bit more comfortable in such a tough situation, but also a lot of trust in the first officer. Now, again, these are not stories in isolation. I see differences in leadership when we lead by principles rather than rules.